What's going on, everybody? This is Day One Radio, another episode. I'm Maurice Garner in here with Brandon Peters. We are coming directly from One Music Fest 2017. They done switched it up on us. They got 2 nights this year. They blowing up.
Man.
Blowing up. But we're actually here on night number 1 here at the Tabernacle. And we have a very, very special guest. Now, I don't know if he's remembered all the other times that I've met him at shows and shit, but I be trying to call him by his stage name, but he insists on shaking my hand saying, "Hello, my name is Steven."
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
We got motherfucking Thundercat in here, man. What's going on with you, man?
I'm all right. I'm chilling. I don't taste blood, so I guess I'm all right.
Fresh off an intense plane flight from what we heard, coming straight out of Seattle.
Yeah. You know, they got to get you on one of them early flights and just mess you all up. You know, just Twilight Zone. That's what I like to call it. You just be in the Twilight Zone.
For sure, man. You're in a city right now that, you know, loves your music. You know what I'm saying? You was just here. You was at Terminal West. What was that? In March.
Yeah, it wasn't too long, a few months ago, right?
Right. So Atlanta obviously loves you, man. Like, tell us how you feeling about being in the city right now, man.
I love Atlanta, man. I love coming here. I feel like I'm at home. You know what I mean? It's like where, you know, everybody look at you like they do know you. You know, it's like they understand you here, you know. And it's great to see, like, to interact with people a lot of the time, you know, because everybody talks to each other here, which is really cool. You know, I like that. You also may get hit by a car.
This is true.
Because there's some non-driving motherfuckers in the city.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, I enjoy it very thoroughly. A lot of my friends are from Atlanta, you know. Big shout out to Awful Records, you know, and all the cats.
No doubt. Man, taking it back, you know, a lot of people may not know that you're part of a very musical family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From siblings to also, you know, parents. How in the hell did y'all not have a sibling rivalry in the house?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, man. I think it exists for every family in different manners. But for mine specifically, we all play different instruments. So it translated differently. You know, it's like I don't think I was that cool. I don't think my older brother thought I was cool growing up, man. But I was like the guy that was kind of like I didn't really care for the most part. I didn't know I was supposed to, you know. So I never thought of the word. The word jealousy never existed to me. I didn't understand. It didn't exist like that, you know.
That's dope.
Or like you know, just, you know, we did get in a fight. So I remember one time I threw my bass at him.
That's not even fair because he could just throw drumsticks at you.
Yeah,
you throwing the bass.
Took the bass and gave him the old Olympic shot put throw. I was coming from the bleachers with that motherfucker. But you know, it was very, very short lived. You know, because we were very focused growing up. I guess, you know,
right.
Even to the young one, you know, he's like very much himself.
Yeah,
and he's very, you know. And his intent is to try to do the best music.
But I mean, all three of you guys have very different personalities.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
completely. It was like a joke in high school. It was kind of like, you know, because my younger brother's like 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But people would always meet me and my brother at different places at different times, and they'd be like, the joke was that you guys are like night and day, just completely two different. You know, and I remember it would just always troll me. It's like that was the first statement that would come out of anybody's mouth. But I think we're pretty similar now that we done got older.
Yeah.
Life has a funny way of bringing about.
Right.
Like, you be like needing help, like actual help.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like maybe sometimes you need a hug. You know, you don't want to admit it to nobody, but you be like, man, can you come over and hang out for a second?
Right.
It's like,
right.
I'm not trying to borrow your car or nothing. I just want to sit. You know, but yeah, no, it's just a different day and age for us.
Right, man. And how is your relationship? Obviously, all the brothers, you love each other, but how's your, you know, like the music relationship, the advice relationship with Ronald?
Like my older brother.
Yeah.
Musically, I don't know. It's just it's changed all throughout the years. You know, at one point, you know, we've played in different groups together growing up. Everything from Suicidal to you know, like groups. He had a group when he was younger called YM with Cameron Graves and stuff. Every now and again, I'd sit in and play with him, and like we played with Raphael Sadiq together, Suicidal Tendencies a bit together. You know, but it was really short stints because my brother's life and career would take off in different manners, in different places, in different ways. You know, George Duke and Stanley Clark picked my older brother up as soon as he graduated out of high school. And, you know, it was kind of like his life just went a whole nother path for many years. We were still, like, you know, in different ways. I personally, I had a studio growing up. Like, that's something I never talk about to anybody because it's not a thing.
Right.
But me and my cousin used to have a studio together, and we were just some little ratchet bastards. We'd be in there just buying porn DVDs and anime, just eating tacos, making music. You know, just go to Yoshinoya. You know, try to go to the Standard.
Yeah,
Get
beef
a
ball.
blowjob in the bathroom or something. But it's like nah. It's just, you know, we just were different. We were very similar but very different. You know,
Right.
And I also I'm also a bit of an illustrator.
Yeah.
So it's like I'd spend a lot of my time more in my head, you know, where he would be out here doing things and, you know, talking to people and doing stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't until, like, you know, I started singing and putting out albums, and, you know, then things changed again. And, you know, it just was a different change between both of us, where it was just like, oh, you know, something new to add to what's going on. So, yeah, you know, and then to now where you see he's put his album out, too, and everything.
Yeah, and the album is jamming. So
Yeah. Triumph is absolutely beautiful.
Definitely.
I'm proud of my brother for putting that out. You know, it takes a lot of the time. They say your first album is like your life's work. So it's like I look at my brother and I do know that's his life's work.
He put it in.
He did it.
Yeah. Man, you mentioned the whole singing thing and putting out albums, but you wasn't really singing a whole lot from the jump.
No.
Was that like a comfort level thing, or
Yeah,
how did that
man.
come about?
I mean, I was never a guy that was like, you know, I wouldn't run around telling people, hey, I'm a singer. And I'm, you know what I mean? I wasn't that guy. I was just very much, like I said, I was very much in my head a lot of the time. And I'd be drawing, or I'd be playing bass, and somebody have some weird story of how I just out of nowhere, you know, would have an outburst of weirdness. But it's like, I didn't start singing until I started hanging out with Flying Lotus.
Mm.
And it was on his notion. He was like, you know, he said, you should start singing. You know, he was like, you should sing more. And I was kind of like, okay. Yeah, it was kind of like, I didn't say no.
Right.
I didn't look at it like, no, I can't do that. I just, like, looked at it like, you know, okay. I get, maybe you're seeing something, you know. And, you know, with his help throughout the years, it's kind of one of those things where it helped to develop me as a singer and more of a taking the lead with my instrument, you know. And I don't know, it just kind of started to happen naturally after that.
Did you like it the first time that you heard yourself? Because it's one thing for somebody to be like, I like the way you sound. You should do that shit more.
Man.
And you be
Hell
like,
no,
nah.
I was nervous. I didn't even like playing my shit for my friends because they would be real brutally honest. And, you know, you got like friends like JoJo and like, you know, like Anderson .Paak and all these cats that can like really sing. You know, I remember one time one of my friends was like, I don't really like your voice, and I was just like, that's crazy because I love your everything. I was like, I'm gonna go get a drink. You know, but it's one of those things again where it's like it's just something just like anything else. It has to be developed over time.
I remember when we talked before, you were talking about how just like the balance of direction and freedom.
Yeah,
it's just freeing in itself to be able to just create and make dope shit.
Yeah. And at first, I always doubted the idea of those existing until I got a chance to meet a Flying Lotus. You know, he was very much like he was just very, very straightforward about it, and watching the development of Brain Feeder along with him, and how it was imperative that the role he played with everything that was going on with him, you know, it's still going on with it, to the part now where we see he put out this movie Kuso, and it's kind of like, you know, yeah, bro, like Kuso is wild.
The look on Reese's face.
Yeah, man. But I mean, the dude chips away at the mountain, man. Like he really does. I remember that started out as an animated. He got a little animation on his computer. I was like, look at this shit. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it's like come 2 years, 3 years later, that shit is just full-fledged. Got a movie team at the house, big-ass van and catering and shit. And I'm just like, I was like, that is why he is who he is. I was like, I couldn't deny it, you know. So I think it's always been like that from the jump. So I've always trusted his like direction and his prowess and how he you know, he sees things a lot of the time.
No
You know,
doubt.
I think there's a bit of a similar thing for me with him too. You know, because there's a bit of it that's like it's always been this slight partnership that has been implied between people, but it's like, you know, again, it's just my personal perspective of having worked with the guys that I'm happy to see somebody actually creatively driven that's putting out shit that is not what your typical run of the mill. You know, like he's not scared of what people actually think. You know, not a lot of the time. You know, like not. He don't really give a shit. He be about the art. like, and how good it can be and what it can be as compared to, it's like, he believes, I think he believes firmly in the idea of, like, if you're right, it'll be right here. Right. If you're right inside how you're doing this, it's going to translate.
I feel like that's just kind of the energy that's coming out of y'all direct crew and, tertiary crew, because from, Joseph Lindbergh to your brother Ronald to Terrace to Kamasi to everybody. Like, it's just, people are just making dope music, and it's like, okay, if you get it, cool, but if not, you'll get it in 10 years.
I mean, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like the way we were brought up too. It's like this idea of being a musician is like, it's kind of like foreign. It's like you got us, you got the guys like me, Justin Brown, Chris Dave, like Kebby Williams, like cats that some cat, Kebby is from out here.
Yeah.
And we've lived this life of musicianship where it's like, it's almost like samurai, like I would, say, not in all respects, but it's this thing where when you decide to be a musician, you're signing up for like this turbulent idea of like, and a lot of the time you have to have some fortitude to be able to even learn an instrument a lot of the time. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's just kind of like once it's become part of who you are, you start to see it more as a reality as compared to a fad or a hobby or like a trending or like a, or a pop culture thing. You start looking at it more like it doesn't matter what's going on. This is what I am and this is what I do. And when that, I think we hit that like really early in life, and we had a chance. We would be there for each other at those really precious moments where everything through everybody's egos, the different ups and downs, and to the point now where it's like, okay, it's like we all live in different universes, but everybody can see that they're connected. And it's like, it's kind of like we would have never thought that would have been the case, but at the same time, it's interesting to see it, because I've known Kamasi since I was a child. So it's like, I mean, there's life. Like, our parents used to hang out. So it's like, it's a bit intense, It's like, because now we don't even play together as much. But I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, man, what's some new anime I should check out? That's how we always have been, since the teenage years, Oh, man, I've been watching this, and then always like, Kamasi, it's like it's seeing, like, revolutions of things just kind of lapse over and like, become bigger and bigger as it happens. So it's very interesting to be a part of that sometimes, but it's like, I think that's more so where that mindset comes from, because we've been doing the same shit since teenage years,
So it's like you speak of, musicianship being this turbulent idea and having the fortitude to pick up an instrument. Like, I'm curious to know, did you get a lot of flack for playing electric bass guitar?
Oh, hell yeah.
Jazz. See, cause like, a lot of times you hear electric bass, folks are thinking, this smooth jazz ass nigga, man, the fuck?
Man, about to slap the night away. the sea of slap bass for the masses. Man, I used to get shit all the time, man. Everything from somebody telling you to throw your bass away to that ain't real jazz, to like, nigga, what's this shit, and all kind of little things, little gut punches here and there that, I mean, for the most part, it's like, again, like I said, it is a bit simple for me because a lot of it wasn't realistic to me. So it's like, it's like the reality of going with what you actually feel when it comes to this stuff is how it works. So I feel like, even with that, it was just more like, it was like one of those things where it's just, you just don't know where to put this. You don't know where to place this in your mind. So it's almost like it's this thing where you have to make fun of it to be able to relate to it, or you have to try to put it in a place that, like, you have to, when you categorize it, it's easy for you to process, and it's like you can always reference it a certain way. But the fact that it's this weird fluctuating part of the music, anything from me playing chords to playing fast to playing with some weird effect on, it's always this thing for somebody where it would be like, oh, that's too much. Or real bass players play with 4 strings and all kind of. And I just like sometimes I would oblige a person. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, let me go get a 4-string, just because it makes you
Feel
comfortable,
right?
And it's just like, but at the same time, it's just again spending time with what you do. I played upright bass. I still have my upright bass. That was the one thing I studied. Mm-hmm. So it's like the ironic part of it, even like the first album that we did as Young Jazz Giants, I played upright bass on the first album.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's like, anytime somebody hears it, they're like, that's you playing upright bass, and it's like, man, shut the hell up. It's like I've done that. I've you know what I'm saying? Like that life has existed in what I've done. So it's just like, yeah, man. But I would take it with a grain of salt.
I mean, you took it back to Young Jazz Giants. I'm gonna take it back a little bit even further. Like, what role did the multi-school jazz band and Reggie Andrews kind of play in you being able to withstand all that shit, but also find your own voice?
It was him that taught us how to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, our high school is in the middle of Watts, built on the street where the Watts riot started. My teacher was like, 10 toes down, solid dude, like in a real way. And it like on some man level shit, like taught you like the real like brass, like, man, I couldn't explain how important Mr. Andrews was to our development, and it's like that could that element, like even when you think about the people that also came out from under Reggie Andrews, and you see it, and you go, you can't deny what Reggie Andrews was.
Patrice Rushen, even that far back,
man. And it's like, he understood every weird part of what a person thought or who they wanted to be. I think, and he would help us in very, very weird, interesting ways, man. Everything from his sense of humor to whooping your ass if you didn't show up with the homework, to giving you a solo, to putting a tune in front of your face with a chart, put the chart upside down. He was that guy, and he just try to bend and stretch you into to being malleable for what this is now. And I mean, every now and again, you have somebody that can say something about their teacher that was like, hey, music teacher was cool. Mr. Andrews is literally like, there's nothing that makes up for having him as a teacher.
Right.
There's no, everybody, as I said, everybody's had their teacher, but Reggie Andrews, that was the one.
Yeah.
They should do a movie about it.
I was just going to say his legacy is movie work.
Honest,
what was the name of the flick that they had about the band teacher?
The busted ass fucking
with the white boy, the drummer.
Fucking what's the crusty?
I keep wanting to say Slingshot, but that was that. Nah, this was recent, like 2 years ago.
I don't know what that shit was. That was
it won awards and shit. Like it was
it's not rim shot. It's
something like that. Y'all look it up. Google that
shit.
How
people look at drummers.
Exactly.
Like, all my homeboys that was drummers are just like, what is this shit?
I know your brother hated that shit.
Man,
I know, right?
My brother Justin, Chris, they was like, man, fuck all that shit. Man.
Right. Dude, you mentioned anime and everything a lot, man. What is? And I know you're a big video game dude. We'll get into that a little later. Ooh. What is the fascination, and where did the whole Thundercats love come from?
Oh man. I mean, there's the simple explanation of it. There's when I was a kid, it was in syndication on TV, so it wasn't like I didn't see it firsthand. I was seeing reruns, and
this shit made me feel old as hell just now because I remember watching that shit.
Yeah, man.
It was coming on originally.
And then even saying that it was in syndication, it's just like, wait a minute. So that shit was older. It was like, yes, man, that shit came out like 82, 81, and it was actually a Marvel comic.
I didn't know that.
It was a Marvel comic. That's the part that even hits me even harder. That's why I'm such a hardcore Marvel guy, because I'm just like, oh shit, I didn't know that until my 20s.
Wow.
I was like, wait a minute, this shit was a Marvel comic. I was like, fuck everybody. I was like, I was right. I was right. But it's like, no, it's just the thing for me. It was the colors. It was the color schemes of the characters, and it was also Japanese animation.
Yeah.
That's another thing that it's throughout. It's almost like this interweaved in the DNA of our culture in very weird ways, where it's like specifically cartoon and animation. Like we've always aspired to have like this really interesting role for people to learn from in these cartoons. From everything from G.I. Joe to He-Man.
Yeah.
That was all Japanese animation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Go look at the credits. It's all like Takahashi's and
I didn't know
Yokohama's, all kind of shit. And it's just like, I feel like, along with that being a plus about it, as a kid, I was very blown away and enthralled by like the manliness of the cartoon. I was like, I wanted to kick somebody's ass. I was like, you couldn't tell me I wasn't a Thundercat. I was
right.
Like, I don't care. I was like, be outside swinging a stick. And your mom tell you, get in the house, and be outside acting a fool. But it started with that. It was a bit of infatuation as a kid, and the way it translates to where years later where people would refer to me as Thundercat, it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, I felt like in a very interesting way, it was like earlier Black Beavis and Butthead shit for me. It was like people would see me and I'd be the one guy with the Thundercat shirt on all the time.
Right.
So it was like, where's that one guy with the Thundercat shirt? And it's like the person who first started calling me that by my name was Shafiq Hussein. And Shafiq and Taz and Arnold, Taz Arnold and Omas, I would always be there at the house.
Right.
And the first person I met from the house was Taz. And so, he would also, deem it that too, but Shafiq would always refer to me as Thundercat. And it'd just be like, you just Thundercat anytime he saw me, and it was like, and then it was, I think that it became even more intense by the time that I met Erykah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Erykah would introduce me to people as Thundercat,
right.
and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's that's a bit of the short version of it, I guess,
Who she played a big role in your development as an artist too, right?
Yeah, still to this day.
And for the record, we were talking about Erykah Badu,
yes,
not Erykah Jenkins.
Yes.
Off
yes.
73rd.
That's Mama right there. That's Mama's gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, she taught me, man. She trained me, and she got me right in a very, very intense way, and I don't know. I mean, it's like I remember the day she picked me out of picked me up to play bass with her. And it was kind of one of those things where even for her, it was just a bit of a stretch because that was when she did New America. And a lot of her new sound came from the fact that she would be working with Sa Ra, Madlib, and, Kareem and everything. And it was like, it was a different sound. It freaked everybody out to hear her cussing and saying nigga and shit on records. And it was just like, for me, I was just like, yeah, she's going into the unknown, I'm like, and it's kind of like, I wanted to be there with her, and, it's like a lot of my development between Suicidal and Erykah, was like very much, I felt like being groomed to be an artist. So, she would encourage me to dress the way I dress, or, she'd give me a bass solo, or she would, these moments that I remember that I look back on now and I'm just like, oh man, she was always with me.
I was gonna say, did you even know she was grooming you at the time?
No, man. Nah, I was just a little weird ass bass player.
Right.
Every now and again, she look at me up the side of her eye like, cat. I'm like, I'm fine. They're like, I'm okay. I don't taste blood. But it's just, she and to this day, it's like she still treats me like family. I don't tour with her as much, but every now and again somebody may see me
you've
with
been
her.
on the road by yourself for a minute now.
Yeah, I get, I feel like it's like, I feel like a part of me feels like Erykah's band was my home.
Yeah.
And it's like I miss them so much a lot, I miss them very much because it's like those were some spiritual and really intense years.
Yeah.
And everything from seeing band members die to people change, and sound change, and looks change, and emotions change, and all that stuff. It grew together a lot, and but inside of that, Erykah was very fundamental in how, again, kind of molding me into being more of myself.
That's dope, man. You mentioned Suicidal, man, and you went on tour with them when you were, 15, 16?
I would say like 16, 17.
How the hell was that? Like, first and foremost, what did your parents say when you said, I'm going on tour with Suicidal Tendencies?
Man, I think my dad already knew what was happening. But when you get old and you a dude, you just be like, well, it is what it is. I think Pops hit that button when you realize that. But for me, it was the thing of I was working.
Yeah.
Alongside the part where I was like, it was intense, the amount of work that I would be doing. Everything from dipping in and out of school to tour to like them having to plan tours around me getting out of school to be to the environments I'd be in, full on assault, like insane, Burt Reynolds style bar fights and crazy and emotional states of people. And for me, I don't know, I just saw it as like, wow. I mean, I was learning, I was learning a lot. And Mike Muir also being a person that was very fundamental in my development as an artist.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, what inspires how you name these albums, man?
Reality.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this shit feel like it's about to collapse.
Yeah.
My mom named the first album,
Yeah.
you know, and the Golden Age of Apocalypse.
Wow.
And it was a combination of my mom and, you know, it's a bit of a denotation to, or like a nod to Marvel, of course, you know. And my mom, when she heard the album for the first album, she said it sounded like music of the apocalypse.
Wow.
And it's pretty eerie now that I think about it, because it's like, you know, the next album was called Apocalypse.
Yeah.
You know, and then the next album was The Beyond. And it's like, if you see what's going on now, it's kind of like, ooh.
But the irony of that is that like Drunk has like a much lighter feel.
Yeah,
than the earlier
It's
music.
like taking a step back.
Yeah,
Let's bring
it's
it
like
back.
y'all realize shit is fucked up now, so let me give you something to make you feel a little good.
I feel like the album Drunk for me was a very like I don't know, it's a very intense one for me, you know, because it's like it's post Kendrick, you know, To Pimp a Butterfly and Kamasi's, you know, the Epic and, you know, all these things that I've been involved in, and even You're Dead. Mm-hmm. There was at one point, I always talk about this too. I feel like I have to, you know, every now and again, because it's like even for Lotus, it was a really intense moment, because even at working on You're Dead, there was part of me that felt like it was like we should have done it as a double album, because The Beyond, I feel like, is a piece of You're Dead.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where by the time I got to Drunk, it was just like, you know, there's so much stuff going on. It's like I felt like the more open-ended, the more I'd be like outward with things, it can only help me.
Yeah.
You know, because everything from watching how people talk to you when things change, you know, all of a sudden, you know, there's like the idea of fame and all these different things that come with it, and yada, yada, yada. It makes people crazy, you know? And it's one of those things where when it comes to that album, it was like my internal dialogue as watching things happen and change around me.
Right.
And it was this feeling that I was trying to convey of how things felt, you know? And it's like, and it's very ironic that I would meet like a Kenny Loggins and Michael and Pharrell, and it's like I never had any features on my albums before, you know? And I think that was literally a conscious decision by way of Lotus.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, nah, man, it's got to be you.
I mean, that makes sense because so many people knew you from doing work with other people.
Yeah, it's like this weird, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This album for me was this weird, like, juxtaposition.
Yeah.
You know, it was like this thing of like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just keep playing bass for everybody? And
right.
Or is this supposed to be me as this person? Or it was like, and I was saying it starkly on the album, you know, and it just translated the way it has. You know, I still get blown away now, like seeing like that it actually, you know, people heard it, you know, and it's like, it's intense, man. I had some really emotional moments with that album, as I have with the other ones, but like this one, it was like, wow, where are we at right now?
And I guess because more people are aware, it's even more intensified.
Yeah, like it's still messing me up if somebody sees me and they be like, Thundercat, and I'm like, it's kind of shocking sometimes. It's really shocking, you know. And it's funny because even with the guys in the band and everything, it's like every now and again they'll see it, and it's easy to forget because I'm a regular ass dude. Like I'm not like, you know, I mean I know every now and again I may dress a bit out, you know, or something. You may see me running down the street naked, but it's like, you know, it's still one of those things to me that's just like, oh yeah, that's right. It's like I'll find myself having a conversation with somebody, and it started getting real leaned in a certain manner, and it's like, oh, this guy must recognize me. He just doesn't know how to say it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Thundercat, and he'll be like, I thought it was you, and it's like it can be really intense, but it's like again, things move and change, you know.
Like building off of that, like how does it feel having like the song? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, like you got fans that know all your shit, but then you got, like, for instance, when we was at that Terminal West show, I'm in the back like, oh, he playing my shit, and I'm looking at the crowd like, why the fuck aren't y'all throwing your hands up to this song? But as soon as them changes come on, it's like, man, this the only song y'all know. Y'all paid $20 to see one song, bro. So like, how does it feel like You say dealing with the fame and then being the guy with
that song.
that song. You know what
Hey
I'm saying?
man, that
Shout out to Issa Rae.
hey man, I to be honest with you, that song was such a serious song for me. Like, I mean, I can only talk about life in reality. You know, I feel like a lot of the time people try to create this thing for themselves, and you know, which is what you could also do with music at the same time. But for me, it's very much a reality. And that song for me was, again, another turning point in my life. And it's really crazy to see that it translated like that. Because it's like, it's funny because I think people can relate to what that was. And it's just, you know, it's like, it's this wits end thing for me. And every time I hear it, it always is a laugh for me. You know, it's always like, oh man, y'all done been through a lot.
Because the song, the song
audience.
pretty much has like 3 lives at this point. You know what I'm saying? It came out on one album, then it reappeared in the TV show, and then it pops up on Drunk. You know what I'm saying? It's like the song like keeps having lives.
Hey man, you know, I'm thankful for it, man. I'm very, very thankful for it. You know, but I feel like there's so much more. You know, there's a whole lot more. You know, but I remember everything from recording that song to, you know, like, how comfortable and how actually uncomfortable I was and how it was going to translate. You know, I remember, you know, being by myself with that song for a minute and just like, am I really singing about this type of stuff? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, I had to get comfortable with hearing myself say stuff like that, you know?
Like that said, this is something I always like to ask artists that have that song. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you get on stage to perform even just that song, just material period, you know, anybody that listens to your albums knows that like improv is a big part of what you do. Yeah. Definitely on stage as well. Like, how often is it like, you know, when you get on stage to improv, it's more so like, I don't feel like playing the version that y'all came to see today, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what the hell I feel like doing. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I just got off this plane. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we were talking about earlier. It's the thing where it's like, for me, it's just symbiotic. It's like they are in that spirit of what that is. So it's like everything from seeing, you know, people like get stuck for a moment, like, wait, that's not in the song, to like, you know, like hearing it in a manner that may be faster or slower, or the song that came before or after that was just like this full on assault, and then it's like this song happens. It's like that's the whole reason why I wrote it. You know, it's like I wrote it because it's all mixed in there, and I think that's what, again, people sometimes may lose sight of. It's like it's just a part of that, you know.
So for all y'all Lauryn Hill fans out there that get mad when you go to her show, like you're getting a jazz show when you see Lauryn Hill. Goddamn.
If you don't stop with that bullshit, Lauryn Hill is a rapper and an R&B singer. The only R&B singer we give passes to doing remixes like that is Jill Scott, because her shit still be jamming.
Oh,
Stop
shit.
it! Stop it. The words expressed
came
on this
from the bleachers
podcast
with
are
that
not
one.
from
He was like,
Thundercat. They are from Maurice Garland and Brandon Peters.
That was nice. Very nice. Very nice. It was like, pow!
Hilarious.
Hey.
Man, and we'll edit it out, but it was tripping earlier because of the battery, so
okay.
We'll go into the singing thing again. So did doing them change? Like, obviously you started singing later in your career, got more comfortable with it because Flying Lotus pushed you to do it. But having a hit like that, did it make it easier to connect with the crowd when you were singing?
That's a hit?
That's a hit.
Like, that's a hit.
That's
what
this
shit
a hit.
is. So I was like, because I definitely don't see.
What you said, the residuals don't say it.
The internet don't make this shit feel like a hit.
Hilarious.
This is internet shit.
Hilarious.
This internet be having your ass just full on. No, it's like it's one of them things that's like, I write music for writing music, man. Like, to me, that I get it because I get that's how it works sometimes. Yeah. But for me, I just see it as like a passing tone. Okay. I feel like that's what I'm saying. There's just so much more. Yeah. You know, in different manners, in different ways, you know.
Right.
And even with for instance, like the song with Michael and Kenny, you know.
How did that come about? Like,
oh, man.
Because, again, we were talking off the air before we started recording, and Reese put me on the Thundercat and was like, I purposefully, when songs come out from an album I want to hear, I don't listen to them until the album is coming. I want to hear the album in full.
Man, I'm the same way.
So I remember older, where I was.
Yeah, you don't be wanting to get played with when you get older. You be like, man, give me the shit I'm paying for. Like, this internet shit be just, man, I can't find none of MF Doom shit.
All right,
I'd be like, where's this new shit that he keep putting out that y'all keep advertising, but don't even put the fucking music? I'm like, what is this? I mean, I knew the nigga was a ghost, but they'd be like,
right,
what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to pay.
Right, but that's real. Like, I remember exactly where I was walking to the studio, and the Kenny Loggins Michael McDonald song came on. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, how did this even happen? Because on the low, niggas love Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's all I've ever been saying. Like, niggas can front all they want. As soon as you be in the grocery store, you could be in an elevator. You could be you got that. You pull that Michael McDonald voice out every once in a while by yourself. You be thinking, I'm gonna try to mimic Michael McDonald. Everybody tries it. They try to do it. It's best kept secret, Michael McDonald. You know. But the way it came about was I reached out to Kenny, and I'm giving you like a bit of a sped up version of it. But it's like I reached out to Kenny through by way of he had worked with Dennis Ham, who plays keys with me, and he heard on the radio that I mentioned him, in a manner, and he thought I was joking about it. So, there's a lot of the time, just niggas are just funny. Yeah. But it's one of those things where even the first thing he said to me was like, were you being funny? And I was like, I couldn't say no. I was like, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I'm always trying to be funny, but I don't think you would joke. I wouldn't. Right. I had to try to explain it to him how serious I was about it. And when we started listening to music, he, again, a guy that's spanned the ages and eras of music and made real hits. Like, he has made monster hits. Like, movie hits and, songs that still to this day, it's just like it's not even that it's just radio play. It still winds up in some shit, And when he started listening to the type of music I was creating, he mentioned bringing Michael into the studio. And, it was exciting for me. I got tripped out a bit and everything. And when Michael got in the studio, Michael was exactly how I imagined him. It was like, the jokes and all, everything. It was just like, this is the guy. This is the dude that's like, he's kind of like Sasquatch. He's like, he's a myth. It's like he just,
Does he still have the hair?
Yeah, man, all white hair, like a Sasquatch. He's just a myth, and or a legend. And he shows up and and to see him work, first of all to see them work together. I had a moment where I wish somebody would have got it on tape. Just hearing Kenny Loggins say, "Man, when's the last time we wrote together?" And it was around the time of What a Fool Believes.
Wow.
So they had to go jog each other's memory, and I was seeing it in front of me. Because people work together and then grow apart, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. So they were trying to figure out when was it, the 90s, 80s? I was like, hey man, in the 80s, that's when I was born. So that if that's the last time y'all worked, then damn, I was like,
it's amazing.
That shit was like it it blew my mind, and they were really concerned because it's like again, it's like that creative process is very like whatever it is, Kenny's very, very much a person that would need stuff to be completed, and Michael was very much a guy that I feel like was very similar, where we were just kind of like, well, what about this? What about this?
Let's try some.
Yeah, I was like, well, what about this? Yeah, let's try some. And it was like, and somewhere in between those lines, we got that song finished, along with a couple other things, and.
You hear he said along with a couple other things in the stash somewhere.
Can't give everything away.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that was like even when we finished it, I didn't want to play it for them. I didn't, because I didn't want them to feel like, oh, well, let me do this or change this, because between me and Flying Lotus working on it, it was just like the more we worked on it, it was one of those things where Lotus would turn and look at me and be like, man, this is a cold ass song.
and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I feel like they made music for how they made music.
Exactly.
And a lot of the stuff we loved, but y'all probably produced the song for us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You didn't want them to be like, hey.
Even to the part with the introductions where I'm like, it's your boy Thundercat and shit. It's like, the thing was, it was like that was me joking, but Lotus was like, nah, that's how this has to be. That's exactly what this is,
Right.
you know. And it was like, I feel like those introductions make it that much more special, because it's one of those things where like, how are we gonna get people to understand that this is that moment? So even where there's like everything from the little bells behind saying Michael McDonald to Kenny Loggins, you know, it's like this extra bass in my voice with Kenny Loggins. It's like, it's that thing of like, this is y'all got to know that this happened, you know. So yeah, like at completing the song, you know, it was one of those things where I was scared to play it for him.
Yeah.
Not so much as Michael, but more so Kenny, because Kenny, you know, he was
the yacht rock Dr. Dre.
Well, you know, yeah, he would let you have it, you know, and he's like, that's not, you know, but he wasn't like that about it at all. He was blown away that it translated the way it did.
Wow.
So it was like, even for him seeing younger people come around and be like, you know, it was like it opened the door in a different way. So it's like, you know, and he expressed that to me a couple occasions. Like, he's like, it's crazy, man. These kids really know who you are. And I was like, well, I mean, you know, I was like, I ain't out here just, you know, bullshitting. I'm just taking this shit kind of serious, man, you know.
Final question, man, before you get out of here and go on stage. What are you playing right now? I know you're a big gamer.
Oh,
what are you playing right now?
Man, it will forever be Mortal Kombat. I also added Overwatch to that, though. Overwatch is, let me tell you something about Overwatch. Overwatch is the squad game of the millennium, bro. Like, if you got homeboys, or if it's like golf. It's like going golfing with your homeboys. It's like, or like some corny ass old shit that, you know, like, it's one of them things, like, it's because you can only play it online. You know, it has to be online, and it's a multiplayer online platform. So it's like, you get your squad, you get your homeboys, and you just go in there and kill. And then I've also been playing Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
man. Switch is, man.
And it's easy to take on the road.
Ironically, I forgot it on this tour.
Oh, you tripping.
Rushing out the house. Come home for one day, try to make sure I get everything in the house that I need. You know, just left without like one shoe, missing like some. I ain't got no underwear. It's just all. And I left the fucking Switch. It's like a damn fool. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch is killing the game right now, bro. Like, Nintendo Switch, and you know the releases they have planned for it. Like, I'm really excited about, and I also play PC. That's the other. That's another one that don't nobody want to talk about. Yeah, you know, everybody act like they be gaming, but if you ain't got a PC, you're not really. Gaming,
that's
man.
Serious shit.
Yeah,
people can't afford $5,000 rigs.
Well, you know,
shit.
I mean, you ain't got to go crazy, you know, but you can, you know, but it's just for the guy that takes it that much more serious. You know what I mean? Like, it took me a minute to come around to it too, because I was, you know, Xbox, PlayStation,
right? You
know, I'll keep up with them, and then I'm just like, man, you know, you drop off when you leave, but the truth is, with PC, you don't have to drop off.
That's true.
So it's just, you know, I just be on it.
Very true, very true. No, we appreciate your time, man. Good luck with the rest of the shows, man, and we'll be keeping an eye out for that music and that unreleased Mac Miller music you still ain't dropped yet.
Man, there's a whole it's like it's a subworld of the tracks that people have. I feel like that's the one thing everybody learned from Prince, how to like hoard music. Yeah. Because every time somebody sees some shit, like, wait a minute, they tweeted y'all in the same sentence, like Herbie Hancock for real, and they be like, man, that shit happened. Yeah. I can't be like, here you go. But it's like, it exists.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, yeah.
Please let people know where they can find you on social media.
Oh, man, I only talk on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm sorry, man. I mean, I don't call me old school, nigga. I can't. Instagram, no, that's the set. That's how you get caught up. Instagram, you taking pictures and shit of where you at. Like,
Yeah, and what's your handle on Twitter?
Thundercat.
What's up?
Just at Thundercat. Yeah.
That's what's up. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thank you guys for talking to me, man.
No
Seriously.
doubt. All right. Peace.